right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. I don't even know where to start with how jam-packed our February is. We have a ton of live action coming your way for classrooms across North America. Our latest newsletter just went out Sunday night, and you can check out exploringbytheseat.com to find all the events and lessons coming up and register with your classrooms. And a quick reminder as well, I will be in Senegal and Gambia within the next day or two. And then from there, I'll be doing live events, short notice live events, collecting live content, sending out daily videos and updates. So if you do want to keep track of those and join with your classrooms, there's a link that you can sign up in our last newsletter. So let's get to business for today. Today, we're doing one of our favorite things to do, and that is to go out live into the field. And where better than heading down south to Antarctica. So we're going to join the Under the Pole expedition from their sturdy aluminum schooner designed to navigate all the world's seas, tropical, temperate, and polar regions, even wintering on the ice. So their mission is to advance knowledge of Antarctic marine ecosystems, particularly in the mesophotic zone, taking action to protect them. So for the past 15 years, Under the Pole expeditions have gone to the Geographic North Pole, spent 2 years in Greenland, wintering in the ice, sailed through the Northwest Passage and on to Svalbard. So joining us to kick things off, I've got Megan Bryce with us. She's the advocacy manager for the team. I'm going to bring her in right now.
Hi,
hey, Megan, how you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Megan, it's so great to have you with us today. You are not on the boat right now. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm joining from Brittany, where Under the Pole's headquarters are.
All right, excellent. And I know that you're also going to give us a little introduction before we beam ourselves out to Antarctic waters. So if you want to say a quick hi to the students, actually, I should say while we're here, if you're tuning in via YouTube, don't be shy. Use the chat sidebar. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And at any time, send in questions because we're going to have a big Q&A session coming up. But Megan, I'll let you take over for a little bit.
Thank you very much. And I'll share my screen to show you a bit more about Under the Pole.
Perfect.
So Under the Pole was founded in 2008. I guess some of you might be born around that time. And it was founded by Emmanuel and Guilain, who you'll be meeting in a few minutes. Emmanuel and Guilain are two explorers, divers, and sailors who met in Brittany. So that's in the west, on the west side of France. And so they met around diving. And in 2008, after working for a French explorer, they decided to create Under the Pole. And the goal was to push the boundaries of ocean knowledge. And today, Under the Pole brings together an international team of scientists, of divers, of explorers from all over the world. So we've been to many, many different places with Under the Pole, all of that on our schooner, the Y, that you'll be visiting hopefully in a few minutes. And so this boat has taken us to the North Pole with expeditions in Greenland, in the Northeast Passage or Svalbard more recently, but also in the Atlantic Ocean with the Canary Islands, Guadeloupe, or Honduras, which belong more to the Caribbean actually. We've also been to the Mediterranean Sea with an expedition in Greece last year, and currently the Y is in Antarctica. We specialize in a very specific type of diving, which takes us to the deep ocean, well, at least quite deep ocean, into a zone that we call the mesophotic zone. So mesophotic zone comes from the Greek middle light, mesophotic, middle light, and it's a zone where the sunlight diminishes to finish by completely disappearing, and that zone is found between 30 and 200 meters deep. And it's a zone that is actually very, very interesting because for years it has been completely overlooked because we couldn't access it with typical classical diving, and then all more complex and more costly systems such as submarines or robots tend to be sent deeper into, for example, what we call the abyss. And so recently, thanks to systems called rebreezes, but you'll see that later on, we were able to access this zone, and this is what we've been specializing in with Under the Pole. And doing that, we study specific ecosystems called marine animal forests. They're comparable to terrestrial forests. So they provide food, they provide nursery zones for animals such as fish, for example, and they are biodiversity hotspots. So in them, we're going to find animals rather than vegetables that we would find on land, animals. And some of the most famous ones that I'm sure all of you know are corals. But apart from corals, we're also gonna find marine animal forests composed by gorgonians or sponges, for example. I'll give you a few examples of the ones we've studied. So these are corals, even though they look more like mushrooms than corals, but they were studied in French Polynesia in the Pacific Ocean. And if they've got this real weird shape, it is because corals live with algae, they still need a bit of sunlight to live. Hence, but we are quite deep there. We're around 100 meters deep, and if they've got this shape, it's because they've been extending to get as much sunlight as possible in these depths where sunlight kind of disappears. In Svalbard, so that's the North Pole, the North, sorry, I can't find my words, but North Pole, we've been studying hydrozoa. So that's another kind of animal which would compose marine animal forests. In the Canary Islands, that's the Atlantic Ocean, we've been studying black corals. They're called black corals because their skeleton is black. There again, it is animals. In Guadeloupe, so in the Caribbean, we've been studying marine animal forests made of gorgonians, for example. So gorgonians are the things you can see here, which are absolutely amazing. As you can see, there's quite a lot of little fish who live with these gorgonians. And in Greece, there again, we've been studying marine animal forests made of sponges, corals, and gorgonians. So in many different marine animal forests that we study, we actually have quite a good and a big variety of animals that we will find. And so our latest expedition, which we conducted last year, was on Roatan Island. So that's in Honduras in the Caribbean. So you can see our little boat there on the bottom right-hand side of the image, the Y. And so we were on a barrier reef called the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef System, which is the biggest barrier reef after the Australian one that you might know. And you can see, on the picture just before, we can see it here on the left-hand side. You see our boats, and on the left-hand side, we can see the barrier reef. And on this barrier reef, we studied the same marine animal forest, as you can see here, composed there again of different animals, such as gorgonians. And so we do that with our divers. Emmanuel and Guilain will tell you a little bit more about the divers gear in a few minutes. But what we do is scientific diving, and it's not just diving for fun, even though it is still quite pleasant. But it can also be very difficult. You'll see in a few minutes regarding Antarctic icy waters. But we're going to be using scientific tools to study these marine animal forests. So some of the tools that we're going to be using are the ones you can see here. So the first one on the top left-hand side is a current profiler. A current profiler is used to measure the current within and outside of the marine animal forest, to compare the two and to see whether, as terrestrial forests on land might reduce wind within this forest, well, it's the same for marine animal forests. The currents, we assume, would be lower, not as important within the forest and outside. A hydrophone is used to listen to the marine animal forest, to listen to ecosystems that live with and around it. Sediment traps are used to measure sediment. So it's things that are, for example, you might have heard about sea snow. It's like little bits of decomposed animals, of pollution, of different things that are going to fall on the bottom, and they're going to fall into these sediment traps, which are going to allow us to study what they are composed of. And then we use photo quadrats, sorry. So photo quadrats are photos that are taken in a very specific way, always the same size of picture. And we're going to take photos at different depths, for example, to compare ecosystems on the surface or at 100 meters deep. And we're going to do that gradually between the two to compare the composition, for example, of these different marine animal forests. And finally, very, very basic, the exact same that you would be using at school, or almost, we're going to be using pens and a tablet on which to write. So for example, you have your school books in which you would write with your pen and your pencils, and we're going to do the exact same, except it's going to be on a little plastic tablet, but that enables us to take measures, for example, or write observation on this tablet while on the water. And now I'm going to pass on to Emmanuel and Guylain. If they are still with us, I can see them. And they're going to tell you a bit more about Antarctica, where they are right now, as you can see on the map. Are you here, Emmanuel and Guylain?
Let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hi. Can you see us? Can you hear us?
We see you, we hear you.
Okay, great. Perfect. Yes, so we are on board the Y. The Y is our expedition sailing boat, which is more or less 20 meters long. We are in Antarctica since about 2 months now for a few more weeks. We plan to come back to South America, Ushuaia, at the extreme south of Argentina, by the end of February. And we are Under the Pole. The name of our organization is Under the Pole. And we used to work for a very long time in the Arctic. We have been in Greenland, we have been in Canada, in Alaska, in Spitsbergen. But this expedition is the first one of Under the Pole in the south. It's the first time we come to Antarctica. That was like a rendezvous since about 20 years. We are on the field of polar expeditions. But it's quite complicated to come here, to work, to dive deep, to conduct scientific missions, because we are very far. It's very wide, of course, as well. But logistic questions, resupply, food for a long period of time, fuel for a long period of time, rotations capacities in the team. All of those aspects makes of expeditions in Antarctica a challenge. Okay, but here we are. We are in Antarctica over about three months expedition to conduct a scientific mission, which is the one that Megan just presented previously. It's the Deep Life program, this program of the United Nations for the oceans. And here we are to study, to look for the marine animal forests. In other words, we are focusing on the ecosystems of the Antarctica Peninsula, but just a little bit deeper in the ocean that we are used to do it as divers. Here in Antarctica, scientific divers, but also tourist divers usually don't dive deeper than 20 or 30 meters maximum because we are far, because it's complicated. And one of the objectives of this expedition was to 100 meters and to observe, to search for those marine animal forests and then to study them.
And can you follow me? Maybe we can show.
Emmanuel.
We are going to show you a little bit of the boat and outside the boat as well. Hopefully the connection will keep going on. So we follow Emmanuel and we go to the deck of the Y.
So here we are in Port Le Croix. And if I go this side, you can see maybe the huge glacier with here. Do you see the ice, the glacier,
Yeah, absolutely.
the mountain?
Looks kind of like Canada
Look at
right
that.
Entre les sommets et tout.
Do you see the summit of the mountain also?
now. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Je suis pas sûre. Faut laisser ouvert.
Non, non, ça change rien.
Do you see us?
Yep, we gotcha.
Yeah? Maybe I went too far.
Montre un peu le bateau aussi.
And you can see the boat. And long. These are the rebreather. Yeah. Megan?
All right, so the connectivity is struggling just a little bit on deck. Emmanuel, while you're, or before you, let's give them a second to get back down. Maybe the connection will come back a little nicer for us.
Hopefully.
But we can see it looks like they're anchored in a beautiful spot.
I think we lost the connection.
Yeah, we got you
You're
back.
back.
Oh, I think they might have gotten kicked out. So we'll give them a second
All right.
to come back in.
I can come back to the presentation while we get them back.
Sure.
And tell you a bit more about why we're in Antarctica specifically. I'm sure you all know that, but Antarctica is actually quite threatened, which might seem surprising because it's very far from us, from our activities, but it still gets impacted by them. Of course, one big impact is that Antarctica is warming much faster than the rest of the world. And actually the peninsula, the Antarctic Peninsula, where the Y is currently, is warming faster again than the Antarctica continent. So it is, very threatened by that. So this causes quite a few different impact consequences, such as ice melt and ecosystem destabilization. For example, penguins can't rest as they used to, or they need to fish for food, or hunt for food differently than before. And then we've got more direct threats too, which are mass tourism and exploitation, such as overfishing and specifically krill fishing. So krill, that you can see one here. A krill is a small crustacean. It belongs to the same group as crabs, as shrimps, as lobsters, and it is at the very heart of the Antarctic food web. It's at the very start because seals, penguins, whales feed on krill. Whales can take up massive quantities, it's tons per day of this krill to survive. And so krill is essential to the survival of the Antarctic wildlife. And it is this very same krill which is overfished, and specifically on the west side of the peninsula where we are now. And it is fished for different reasons. For example, I guess some of you eat salmon maybe, and the pink color of the salmon most of the time comes from this little krill. It is also used for pet food or for feed complements for humans. And anyway, so Under the Pole is in this zone also to contribute to the conservation of it, not just for the science. Of course, the science is at the base of all, but science can also serve conservation purposes. And that's why Under the Pole specifically chose Antarctica and also the west side of the peninsula. And here you can see our divers getting ready to go on dive. I don't know, I can see you, so give me a shout if Emmanuel.
Yeah, so I see they're back in. Let's see how the connectivity is. Let me try and bring them back in. Hey, Emmanuel, can you hear us? Okay.
If not, I can continue.
Yeah, that's not promising. The connection is struggling. Hopefully we'll get a nice connection back for the Q&A portion.
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, but just to remind students who are tuning in, there's obviously no cell phone connectivity in Antarctica. They're using something like this, a little Starlink satellite unit. Sometimes you get really good, strong connections, and sometimes being on the bottom of the planet, you don't. But I see it moving a little bit. Emmanuel, you were able to hear us? I'm going to get them to try and exit to come back in. But Megan, I'll let you take over for a little bit more with the presentation.
Awesome, we'll do that. So here you can see our team getting ready. So on board, we have around 10 people. Emmanuel, Guilain, and on this picture, the person at the bottom of the picture getting ready is Lorenzo. He's the scientific director of Under the Pole's scientific program, but he's also a diver. That's why he's putting on a suit now. And then the 3 other people you see here are divers. They're the 3 other divers we have on board, on top of Lorenzo and on top of Emmanuel and Guilain. And as you can see, they're putting suits on. It's very specific suits made especially to dive in polar regions because, of course, the water is extremely cold. It's around 0 degrees, knowing that seawater doesn't freeze at 0. It freezes at, I think it's minus 1.8 degrees Celsius. So I wouldn't know what Fahrenheit these are. But anyway, it's very cold water. And so they're going to be wearing these yellow suits that you see. They're called dry suits, which means that hopefully, normally, we do have issues, but water shouldn't be going in them. And then under these suits, they're going to be wearing thermal clothes, such as the ones you would be wearing to go skiing to keep warm, sorry. And then that's just the suit. But then to be able to breathe underwater, they're going to have these systems that you can see on their back. It's not just usual scuba dive gear. It's, as I said, what we call rebreather. So it's a closed loop. And we don't breathe air, we breathe a mix of gases. So most of the time we would find nitrogen, oxygen and helium in them with different proportions depending on the depths we're going to. The idea is that basically we can breathe this mix of gas several times. It is filtered to take the carbon dioxide out. It is filtered and it allows us to stay longer on the water and to dive deeper than usual. So in warm waters, we could dive down to approximately 200 meters deep. And here in Antarctica, our colleagues have been diving to around 100 meters deep to study these marine animal forests. And then it's very difficult on the water to move with all this gear on us. So to move faster and go to our
Sorry,
study
Megan,
site.
I'm going to sneak in for a second just because I see they've reconnected. So I want to take advantage anytime.
Do you see us?
Yeah, we got you back. Yeah.
Oh, so sorry for that.
Don't
We're far away.
apologize. You're at the bottom of the world. Connectivity is tricky when you're in a remote spot. So don't worry about it at all. It's good to see you.
Yeah, maybe if you've got some question, we can try and answer it.
Yeah, I think maybe we should switch to a little Q&A action while we have some connectivity. I think that's a good idea. If you're tuning in via YouTube, don't be shy to ask some questions about the expedition. Send them in. I've got some groups backstage with me, Mrs. Walsh's crew and Peel Elementary. If you're ready with some questions, just send me a message in the private chat, and that'll be a signal for me to bring you in to ask a couple of those questions. But the first question I have here coming in the chat, this is from a 6th grade student in Ontario. They want to know, are you out of fresh food this late in the expedition? Oh, I hope that came through. Can you still hear me, Emmanuel?
Yeah, it cuts a lot.
It's patchy. If you can hear me, they're wondering about food, fresh food. Are you out of fresh food this late in the expedition?
I think we've lost them again.
Yeah, I think I can still hear them a little bit, but unfortunately the signal is really fighting to try and stay there for us. So it could be that some of this, there's just not enough satellites kind of orbiting over where they are right now, which isn't too surprising, I guess. Antarctica is going to have less satellites probably than North America and Europe and other places. Emmanuel, can you hear me? Maybe if we can get them back in again, I might suggest that they turn their camera off for the Q&A and see if that helps us. But I think at the moment it's fighting, and I'm actually going to do something to kind of force them to re-enter. I'm going to bump them out of the studio so they have to come back and see if that'll help us. So
and I can answer the question in the meantime if you like. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me bring you back in here with me. There we go.
I've had my colleagues on the phone this morning, so I actually asked them the exact same question, so I have the answer.
Yeah.
They aren't out of fresh food for the moment because we're very, very, very lucky to be counting on a friendly ship who helps us. It's the ship of a offshore sailor called Boris Hermann. He's German, and he has this expedition boat called Malaysia Explorer, and they've been going back and forth to Ushuaia 2 times now, and they've been bringing us some fresh food back, a bit of petrol for the compressors for our bottles, for diving, and a few things like chocolates and stuff like that ran out quite quickly on the boat with 10 people on it. So actually we've been lucky with that. And also in Antarctica, we've been very lucky to have the help of the different scientific bases which we sailed by, who same have received us and gave us a few fresh things and help in general. So there's a lot of solidarity down there.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear, because sometimes on expeditions like that, there's no resupply, and the fresh fruit and vegetables and chocolate, they tend to go pretty fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we've got Miss Walsh's class hanging out with us backstage. They are joining us from NL. I'm going to guess that's Newfoundland, but they'll correct me if I am wrong. Let me bring them in here front and center. Hey, Mrs. Walsh's crew, how are we doing?
Hello.
Hello.
All right, I heard a rumor you have some questions, so let's fire through a few of them, and hopefully with any luck, we'll see Antarctica back in our screen soon too.
Awesome. We are indeed from Newfoundland, Canada. This is Layla. She has a question. Go ahead, Layla.
How did you guys get to Antarctica?
It's a very good question, Layla. Thank you very much for your question. So you saw our boat, which is called the Y, this 20-meter schooner. And the Y is a sailing boat, so it has 2 big sails. So we've been using these to cross a specific place, which is called the Drake Passage. Maybe you can have a look at it after this video. But the Drake Passage is a very, very scary maritime route because it can get very windy, very rough. But eventually our team was lucky to have it quite nice, and so we sailed through it. It took us a few days, around 4 days, I think, and that was to go from Ushuaia to the very north point of the peninsula. And since we've been sailing down, so sailing most of the time, and then when there's not enough wind or too much wind, we do also have 2 engines on our sailing boat, which allows us to still continue. So that's how we did it.
All right. I see our friends backstage as well. Hi, Emmanuel. Can you hear me okay? Oh, no. They keep battling to get back in.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Emmanuel?
Yeah, I hear you right now.
Okay. I've got Mrs. Walsh's class in Newfoundland. They're going to try and squeeze a question in. Do you guys have another question?
Yes, Emily, go ahead.
Has there ever been an animal that attacked you while going somewhere?
Okay. So, Emmanuel, have you ever had an encounter with wildlife?
Oh,
Maybe
yes.
it wasn't happy you were there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's maybe the place where we have seen the more wildlife ever, like plenty of whales feeding, seals. We have seen killer whales, orca, like a big pod coming right next to the boat, penguins everywhere, under the water, up on the snow, on the ice, sea leopards, birds. It's
Looks like we've lost for a second, but leopard seals, I'm so jealous. That is one animal I would love to see. So
yeah, it's one of the better places in the world to
yeah, look up leopard seals in your classroom today. They are so cool. They almost look like dinosaurs.
Cool.
They're really, really cool. Okay, let's try and get in another question. Then I'm going to go to Peel Virtual because I see that they're ready with some questions too.
All right, we have Tanner.
Is it always daytime in Antarctica, or is it the North Pole?
All right. So Manuel, if you could hear us, they're wondering if it's like 24-hour daylight right now. What's it like right now?
So
we still hear you. Yeah.
Do you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we gotcha.
So we had 24 hours daylight. Right now, since a few days, we have a little bit of dark every night.
Okay, well, it sounds like it's not quite 24-hour daylight, but pretty close. Megan, about how much darkness do you think they're getting right now?
They're not getting that much. I know they have to blind all the windows in the boat to be able to sleep properly. And the other thing that happens at night is that sometimes they get hit by mini icebergs. So apparently it's quite scary. They don't sleep as well as if they were in their beds here at home, because they're kind of always expecting something to happen. And yeah, we've had little icebergs hitting the boat, not causing any damage, but apparently it's kind of surprising. And because the boat is metal, it's quite noisy and scary when it happens.
Yeah. Miss Walsh's crew, we're going to come back to you. So I know there's more questions, so keep them ready for us. I keep calling them Peel Virtual. We had Peel Virtual yesterday. Today it's LDSB and KPR Virtual. So let me bring them in here front and center. How is your crew doing today?
Hi, we're great. So my crew can see you, but you can't see them because they're virtual. So they're in a meeting.
Okay.
So they had a few questions. One is, have you ever gotten really cold and how do you stay warm?
It's a very good question. My colleagues do get very, very cold, especially when diving, because the dives that they're going to do can last up to 3 hours. So 3 hours in near freezing water can get really cold, even though we have a lot of equipment, as I showed. And we also have these like heating systems in our suits. But eventually you still get cold when you don't, because diving, you don't move much. It's quite slow, so they get cold, but they do have little techniques. So when they come out, they've got the whole team helping. They'll get a tea straight away to drink as soon as they come out of the water. And then on the boat, they were lucky to get quite a lot of sunshine at the start, and not as much wind as they were expecting. So it was quite warm. We also have a heating system in the boat, which helps us, and a little stove. But they do get cold sometimes. And the technique, I think, is just to put a lot of covers on and have many layers of warm clothes on.
Yeah, my dives don't last 3 hours, but I find in the water, not too bad. But once you get out and the wind hits you and then it's just like a next level of cold when you're kind of diving in colder waters like that. Let me just check. Emmanuel, can you hear me? Emmanuel? No. I thought maybe they were keeping the camera off to try just with the mic, but okay. If you have a couple more questions from your students, feel free to fire away.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for that answer. That was really interesting. Another question they were wondering is if they've ever dug into a glacier, maybe to study the ice and snow.
It's a good question. We haven't done it on this expedition in Antarctica because we're really focusing on marine biodiversity, and we didn't touch land that many times because to land we need authorizations, and we got some, but for some very specific places, for example, to go and meet scientists on scientific basis. So we didn't focus on land at all. But in Under the Pole's very first expedition in 2008, which was at the geographical North Pole, so the opposite side of the planet, there we were brought to make carrots. I don't know if you call them like that in English too, which is digging into glaciers and into the ice, basically, just to get information about concentration in the carbon dioxide or just salt or whatever. So we haven't done it there, but we've done it in the past.
Cool. Thank you. I think. Well, we have one more, but if another class needs to go,
why don't I check it with Mrs. Walsh's crew and YouTube, and then we'll let you have one more before we wrap up. Okay. I'm going to grab Mrs. Walsh's class back in here for maybe one or two. I think we can do two. So yeah, if you've got two there, let's grab two questions.
Perfect. Avery, go ahead.
How long did it take you to get to Antarctica?
Thank you for your question. We were lucky to have good weather, and it took us around 4 days. Well, that said, it's from Ushuaia, and before Ushuaia, we were on Roatan Island in Honduras, and that took us 2 months to sail down from Honduras to Ushuaia, and then 4 more days to cross from Ushuaia to Antarctica. And if we count the crossing from France before that to Honduras, that was 3 weeks. So 3 weeks plus 2 months plus 4 days, it's quite a lot of time in the end.
Absolutely.
Wow.
If you have some time today, classrooms, look up the Drake Passage, look up some videos, because sometimes you get the Drake Lake where it's a nice calm passage, but sometimes you get the Drake Shake and it's crazy, the waves that these big ships go through. So do check that out. You can find some pretty crazy videos crossing the Drake Passage. It's pretty wild. I see Emmanuel again, so try and get a quick question in from Miss Walsh's crew. Sorry, Emmanuel, I know it must be hard for you trying to come back and in and out, so we appreciate you trying, but I just don't think the connectivity is with us today. All right, we have one more there from Miss Walsh's crew.
Aspen, go ahead.
Have one of your boats ever crashed into an iceberg?
All right, Megan, I think we'll have to get you to field that one.
No worries. No, we're very lucky. So our boat isn't an icebreaker. It's not made deliberately to go into ice, but it is quite resistant still. It's still made to be able to navigate in icy waters. We didn't get hit. As I said, we get hit by very small ones, such as the one you can see in the background here. Hopefully on the bottom right-hand side of this picture, there's a little one. So that would be the kind of ones we would get. But what we've been doing is spending a whole winter on the ice. So basically, we got our boat stuck on the ice. So what happens is that the ice forms around the boat and kind of like pushes it onto the ice. And so we spent a whole winter, we would go up and down on the ice from the boat. And then at the end of the winter, the ice would melt and liberate the boat again. And that we did that in Greenland a bit more than 10 years ago. But we didn't have any accident related to ice.
All right. Miss Walsh's crew, thank you for those great questions. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being so patient with the Antarctic connection. It's a good thing we have Megan here as backup, who knows the expedition inside and out and can answer some of these questions for us. I'm going to tuck you guys backstage, but it was great to have you with us today. Megan, I was just thinking maybe what we can ask Gillan and Emmanuel to do is film a short video for us.
Totally.
So maybe a short tour of the boat, and then maybe on deck, just look at the scenery again. And then maybe one of them can talk about the rebreather and show us the gear.
I'm sure they could do that, and they will be doing it. And I'm sure they can also introduce you to the crew and film all the crew members, so you can have an idea of who does what on the boat. And we'll be sending that in just after the call.
That would be
very
perfect.
happy to do so.
Yeah, if you send that to me, I'll share it with the classrooms. I think that would be great, and it would be a nice, a nice way to fill in the Starlink not cooperating today. But let's bring
Very
in
good idea.
our virtual crew again. I think you guys might have another question for us.
Hi. Yeah, so they're very interested to know more about the animals that they see in the Antarctic, and also if there's ever been any interactions between them and the animals.
Thank you very much for your question. Yeah, my colleagues have been telling me how absolutely amazing the wildlife is. They've noticed one thing is that the animals that compose the marine animal forests that we study, so whether gorgonians, but also like more basic animals such as starfishes or just fish in general, they say that they're much, much bigger than on any other marine animal forest they've been studying anywhere else. And also, so when they go up from their dive, they have to do decompression stops, so stay for quite a while on the water, just not necessarily on the forest that they study, but like in the water column, for example. And systematically, they get penguins that come and say hi, they get seals, they get leopards, they get everything. And they say that they're not afraid of humans as they would be in other places, such as in Brittany, where we live. Wildlife tends to flee us, whereas here in Antarctica, wildlife is very curious and comes and see the divers and like kind of says hi. So yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And we'll be sharing a few pictures of all of that too, if you want, with the video.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Very cool. Well, virtual crew, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Big shout out to your students. And yeah, we'll get some video your way as well, just to add to the experience. Megan, I'm going to hit you with one more question. This is from the YouTube chat. What have they been saying is the most difficult part of the diving so far?
I think it comes back to the cold again. The cold, and also it's quite funny because divers are weird about that. They also say that it's just painful that it's so short, whereas 3 hours seems really, really long, but they would want it to last for hours and hours and hours. So the cold and the fact that it's not long enough because everything they see is so amazing that they'd like to spend their life underwater. So these would be the two, I guess.
Yeah. So I don't use rebreathers, but when I dive in really cold water up here in Canada, sometimes in the winter, one time I had a free flow, which is where the air just kept going through my regulator, which isn't a big deal if you've trained for it. Can that happen with a rebreather? Or
it does.
Yeah.
So they have techniques. They have two different how do you call them, the ones you put in your...
The regulators?
Yeah, they have two different regulators, and they're very, very trained because the diving that they do is quite dangerous because when you go that deep, many things can happen and you have to be ready to for anything. So they are very skilled and trained divers. But I guess when you're not used to that, that can be extremely scary, but it's the kind of things they're used to. So it's not as much anymore for them.
All right, perfect. Well, this is why, I mean, we would always rather, oh, actually one more question just squeaked in via the chat, so maybe I'll squeeze it in. What's the ice been like? Have they, like, I know sometimes that the ice can kind of close in a little bit, move away a little bit. Have they had it kind of close in on them at all?
They didn't, but they're extremely careful. What they do is they actually climb up our mast, which is meters and meters high. It's very high, and they climb up the mast several times per day to have a check on the ice around them to make sure they're not getting closed out in. We don't have them, but our friend boat, Malaysia Explorer, has kind of system that analyzes the ice around them to make sure that it's not happening either. But it's been pretty okay with us, but we've been careful, so that's why it was okay.
Yeah. All right. Absolutely. Well, Megan, I'm so glad that we tried the connection from Antarctica anyways, because we got to say hi to them. We got to hear a little bit about what they've been up to, and we got that beautiful view of the water and the ice from the deck of the ship. We do live stuff from the field all the time, and you never know. Some days the satellite connectivity is crystal clear, and some days you fight it the whole time. So it was great to have you here with us to help fill in some of those blanks, share the presentation from the past expeditions as well, and as well as answer some of our classroom questions. We'll keep an eye out for a video, but please do pass on a message to Manuel and Guylaine just to say thank you so much. No big deal about the connection. it's always a risk when you connect from somewhere remote like Antarctica.
It is. I'm very sorry, and I'll pass that on, and we'll send you the video with them saying hello and showing you the boat and the crew in a few minutes.
Perfect. Sounds good. To our classrooms, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Thanks for taking the risk with us to connect with Antarctica. I hope you learned a lot from Megan's presentation as well. Megan, you were amazing. And yeah, we've got tons of events coming up between now and the end of February, so we hope to see your classrooms there. For now, though, have a great rest of the week. We're going to sign off for now, and good luck to the team with the remaining weeks on their expedition. I'm sure they're going to be excited to get home a little bit too. So thanks, everyone, and we're going to sign off for today. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.